When you see the U.S. Capitol building, you're looking at the home of the legislative branch, Congress. The writers of the Constitution put Congress first in Article 1 because they believed it was the most important branch, the one that most directly represents the people. Its main job, in one sentence, is to make the laws that govern the entire nation. But its power is much more than just that. Congress has a very specific to-do list given to it by the Constitution, and we're going to explore what exactly it has the power to do. Congress isn't just one big group. It's bicameral, which is a fancy word for two houses, or two parts. You have the House of Representatives, which is the big house with 435 members. The number of representatives each state gets is based on its population, so California has way more than Alaska. Then you have the Senate. The Senate is the small house with only 100 members. Here, every state is equal. Each one gets exactly 2 senators. This great compromise was designed to balance the power of large states and small states, and a bill must pass both houses to become a law. Oh, so what are powers? When we talk about the powers of Congress, we're talking about the specific authorities the Constitution gives it. Think of it like a job description. Your boss wouldn't just say, "Work here." They'd give you a list of duties. The Constitution does the same for Congress. These powers are broken into 2 types. The first is expressed powers. These are the duties written down in black and white, like you have the power to deliver the mail. The second is implied powers. These are the unwritten common sense powers needed to do the expressed jobs, like you have the power to buy a mail truck. Expressed powers, also called enumerated powers, are the ones literally written or listed in the Constitution. If you open up the Constitution to Article 1, Section 8, you'll find a pretty long list of things Congress is allowed to do. There's no debate about these. This list includes some of the most important functions of our government. It says Congress can coin money, declare war, and regulate trade. The writers wanted to be very clear about what the new federal government could do, so they wrote it all down. Let's talk about the biggest power of all, the power of the purse. This is the power to lay and collect taxes. Think about it. Nothing in the government works without money. The military, national parks, even the president's salary, it all costs money. Congress controls 100% of that money. It decides what to tax, how much to tax, and where every single dollar will be spent. This is Congress's #1 check on all other branches. If the president wants to start a new program, they have to go to Congress and ask for the money. The power of the purse has 2 sides: getting money, taxing, and spending money. The Constitution says Congress can spend money to provide for the common defense and general welfare. This is a very broad statement, and it means Congress is in charge of the entire national budget. This is where the big political debates happen. How much should we spend on the military? How much on medical research? How much on building new highways or protecting the environment? Congress makes all of these decisions when it passes its yearly budget bills. The Constitution also gives Congress 2 other major financial powers: borrowing and coining money. First, to borrow money. Just like people, the government sometimes spends more than it earns in taxes. When this happens, Congress has to borrow money to pay the bills, which is what creates the national debt. Second, to coin money. This is why your dollars say Federal Reserve Note and not California Note. Only the federal government can create and regulate our money. This ensures that a dollar is worth a dollar, whether you're in New York or New Mexico. This is one of the most powerful clauses in the entire Constitution. It gives Congress the power to regulate commerce among the several states. Commerce is just business and trade. Among the several states means any business that crosses state lines. In 1787, this meant things like shipping goods on a river between 2 states. Today, it means almost everything. Your cell phone signal, the internet, the food in your grocery store, the airlines you fly on, all of it involves multiple states. This clause gives Congress the authority to make rules for all of it, from food safety laws to minimum wage. The Constitution wanted to make it hard to go to war, so it split the power. The President is the Commander-in-Chief, meaning they are the head of the military and direct the troops in a conflict. But the President cannot start a war on their own. Only Congress has the power to declare war. This is the ultimate check on the President's military power. It forces a national debate and a vote from the people's representatives before committing the country to a major conflict. Declaring war isn't the only military power Congress has. It also has the power to raise and support armies and to provide and maintain a navy. This goes back to the power of the purse. Even if the President wants a 1,000,000-person army, Congress has to agree to pay for it. Congress decides how many soldiers, ships, and jets we have. It passes the budget that pays their salaries, buys their equipment, and builds their bases. This ensures that the military is controlled by the people's branch of government, not just the President. Article 1, Section 8 is a long list, and it includes other powers that are essential to making the country run. For example, Congress has the power to set the rules for naturalization. That's the process for an immigrant to become a U.S. citizen. It also has the power to establish post offices, a huge deal in the 1700s, as it was the main way to unite the new country. And it has the power to promote science and useful arts by creating patent and copyright laws which protect inventors and artists so they can profit from their own creations. Now we get to the second type of power, implied powers. These are powers that aren't written down. Instead, they are the logical, common-sense powers that Congress needs to actually do its written-down jobs. Here's an analogy. If your parents give you the expressed power to go to the store and buy milk, they have given you the implied power to drive their car, use their gas, and obey traffic laws. The Constitution works the same way. Congress has the expressed power to raise armies, which implies the power to create an air force, build forts, and hold a bake sale to raise money for troops. So where do these implied powers come from? They come from one single sentence at the end of Article 1, Section 8. This clause says Congress can make all laws that are necessary and proper for carrying out its expressed powers. This is famously known as the Elastic Clause, because it stretches the power of Congress. It gives Congress flexibility to deal with new problems the founders could never have imagined, like creating laws for cybersecurity or space exploration. Besides making laws, Congress has a few special jobs that are non-legislative, meaning they have nothing to do with passing new bills. These are some of the most serious and high-stakes powers the Constitution grants. These special duties include the power to investigate the other branches, the power to impeach and remove federal officials, and, for the Senate, the power to confirm or deny the President's choices for important jobs and to approve treaties with other nations. Congress has the power of oversight, which is a fancy word for investigating. It's Congress's job to oversee the executive branch and make sure it's doing its job properly and following the laws. To do this, congressional committees can launch investigations. They can call witnesses to testify under oath. You've probably seen this on the news. They can demand documents and emails. This power is essential for exposing wrongdoing, stopping the waste of taxpayer money, and getting the information needed to write better laws. This is one of the most serious powers in the Constitution, impeachment. It's important to know that impeachment does not mean to remove from office. Impeachment simply means to formally accuse a federal official, like the president or a judge, of treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors. This power belongs only to the House of Representatives. Any member of the House can introduce articles of impeachment, but it takes a simple majority vote, 218 votes, to successfully impeach the official and send the case to the Senate for trial. Once the House impeaches, accuses an official, the case moves to the Senate. The Senate has the sole power to try all impeachments. This means the Senate acts like a jury in a criminal trial. The House members act as the prosecutors. At the end of the trial, the 100 senators vote. It takes a supermajority, a 2/3 vote, or 67 senators to convict the official. If convicted, the official is automatically removed from office. This high bar was set on purpose to prevent a popular but temporary political disagreement from easily removing a president. This is a special power that belongs only to the Senate. The Constitution calls it advice and consent. When the president makes a treaty, a formal, binding agreement with another country, it is not final. The president must submit that treaty to the Senate for its approval. It takes a 2/3 vote, 67 senators, to ratify or approve the treaty. This is a powerful check that ensures the president can't make foreign policy all alone. This is the other half of the Senate's advice and consent power. The president has the power to nominate people for all the top jobs in government. This includes all federal judges, from district courts all the way to the Supreme Court. It also includes all cabinet secretaries, like the Secretary of Defense, and all ambassadors. But these are only nominations. The Senate must confirm them, which it does with a simple majority vote. This forces the president to choose qualified people who can win at least some support from the legislative branch. The writers of the Constitution were afraid of giving the government too much power. So in Article 1, Section 9, they included a cannot do list for Congress. These are fundamental rights that Congress is not allowed to violate. For example, Congress cannot suspend the writ of habeas corpus, your right to be told why you are being arrested. It cannot pass a bill of attainder, which is a law that punishes a person without a trial. And it cannot pass an ex post facto law, which would make something illegal after you've already done it. These limits protect citizens from government overreach.